Hello and welcome to NPT community class. Today we are still focusing on our intro to basic reformer repertoire, but today's class is going to start with a dynamic warm-up as I'm going to take you into a spring load challenge. So we're going to take a look at different exercises and how the implication of load affects change in those exercises. Okay, so we're going to come to standing to start. And I'm just up here so you can see me. So in our dynamic phase warm-up, we are starting with some star jumps. So if you can just join me on the mat, just next to your reformer, and we're just going to start jumping out and in, getting those arms swinging, getting the blood flowing as we're into our star jump. Good. From star jump, we are going to come into some just jogging on the spot. So just starting with a simple jog, but then making it a little bit more specific by kicking the heels up towards the glutes. So really getting those heels up nice and high as we're bouncing from one to the other. Continuing with our jogging on the spot, but can we switch this now into knees up the front? So pulling those knees right up into a deep hip flexion as we're bouncing from one leg to the other. Starting to elevate that pulse rate, elevate that heart rate, get the blood pumping through the body. Okay, so calming that down. And we're going to come to standing with the feet a little wider than our hip distance and bringing the arms out to the side. This movement pattern replicates saw, but in standing. So if we can keep our hips directly to the front, as we take an inhalation and rotate the torso. Hinging at the hip, we're going to bring the front arm down to the little toe of the opposite foot. We're going to come back up to standing in rotation, back around to the front. Rotate the other way, hips stay square. Reach the front hand down to the little toe of the opposite foot. Come back up still in trunk rotation and back. Let's add some pace. Breathing in and forward. Come up in rotation, square it off. Rotate, reach forward, come up and square. Really feel how the oppositional reach of the arms assists that trunk rotation. Twist, down, up and center. Good. Bringing those feet back into our parallel and hip width position, and we start coming up into our calf raises. So we're relevating up or rising up and lowering those heels down. Giving some thought to our ankle stability as we rise up and lower down. Can we think quick up, a little slower on the return back down of the heel to the floor? Up and down, up and down. Good. Let's take this into our prances. So same deal. Can we think quick lift, slow down as we alternate through our prances in standing? Can we feel that different relationship to gravity and our balance challenge? Because we're going to come down and do this on the reformer in a much more supported environment in a moment. Okay, good. From here, we're going to bring the feet into a small V position. We're going to interlace the fingers and bring the hands behind the head. So in our upright vertical posture, can we feel that the head presses back into the hands to replicate us pressing our head back into our reformer headrest? We're going to rise just up off the heels. So the weight is through the ball of the foot. We're feeling that strong connection through the inner thighs, and the thighs are in external rotation spiral. And we're coming down into our standing plie or footwork. So we're lowering down and we're pushing up. We're breathing in as we deepen, breathing out as we press up. Keeping the spine nice and straight. So we're getting that bend through the hip, knee, and ankle as we press down and come up. Good. You go as low as you can control, as low as you are strong enough to maintain that upright vertical position through the head, ribs, and pelvis. Let's go 2 more. And last one. Lower the heels and return the arms. Good. Just notice how the body feels after that dynamic warm-up. We're coming on to the reformer. And I said spring load challenge. So what I've done is I've upped my springs for my leg and footwork today. So I've gone for 3 red and a blue, and I'm going to see if that's appropriate for me to maintain my alignment today. So lying down for our leg and footwork category, we're starting with our heels on parallel and hip width. So can you position the heel a little lower than the foot bar so the heel is centered, ready to push? Can we just take a moment just to calm the breath and to feel that print from foot down into hip, external rotation spiral, and then just giving some thought to that neutral zone through the pelvis and the spine. Feeling the connection from the palm of the hand into the arm shoulder. We've got 6 repetitions of heels parallel, using our inhale breath to prepare the body. Let's use our exhale to initiate from the hamstrings as we press. And inhale, active hip flexion as we return. Push on the exhale. Keep the carriage active as you suck back in to return. Pushing out. Squeeze back in. Press and return. We've got last time. And squeezing in. We're going to switch straight down to our toes V position. Ball of the foot on. Squeezing the heels together. Keep the heel lifted. Keep the legs active. We exhale to push. Inhale to return. And lengthen the crown of your head away from the foot bar. Feeling strong, straight legs activate. Pressing out and sucking back to return. Let's go 2 more in our toes V. Pressing out. Returning in. Good. From here, can we come into our wide heel position? Setting those heels a little wider than our hip distance. We're still in that external rotation, but still feeling that the heels are pulling towards a central point. Connect and push from those active hamstrings, hip flexors as you exhale. Inhale, resist and suck back on the return. Push and return. So are you still able to initiate from that active hip position under a slightly heavier load or tension? Draw it back in. Feel the difference of the impact on the strength or connection through the leg muscles. Last 2. Suck it in and pressing out and drawing back. Well done. From here, we're going to come back to toes parallel hip width for our raises, our calf raises. So from here, we're going to press the legs all the way out to straight and staying active as we dorsiflex and plantarflex through the ankle. So we were doing this just before in our upright vertical posture. Can we use the feedback of the machine now to feel like we're lifting up even taller through our posture, working actively down through the heel and back up onto the toes. We've got 1 more practice, lowering down and lifting up into our prances now. Again, we're staying active as we're going down and up from side to side. Can we feel that the feet connecting onto that foot bar is still spiraling a connection up into our thighs, into our hips? Can we feel the dynamic of the movement going up and up and up? So we're controlling that eccentric lowering of the heel as we come down. 1 more on each side. And let's return the carriage back into the stopper. Okay, carefully roll yourself up. We're changing the spring slightly for our single leg footwork. Taking 1 blue spring off. Let's come down for our single leg heels. So heels positioned parallel and hip width. Getting back into our neutral zone, kicking the right leg up into our tabletop position. Just taking a moment here to print. Are we actively connecting both legs into the hip sockets and connecting both arms down into the carriage? We're using an exhale breath to press to straight And an inhale to resist the return back in. Exhale to push, engaging from those hamstrings and suck back into an active hip flexion. Push and return. The open chain leg just stays nice and still, but we are connecting that thigh back into the hip. Let's go for 2 more. We are extending that knee all the way out to straight and we're resisting the return back in. Excellent work. From here, we're going to place that foot back down in line with your sitting bone, picking the left leg up. Take a moment to reestablish your connection and your print. We're exhaling to push the leg out to straight. We're inhaling to resist the return. Keep the movement active. As soon as you get out to straight, resist and control all the way back into the stopper. Exhale, press. Inhale, resist and return. Let's go 2 more on this side. Noticing any changes in the pelvis or the spine. We're going to switch back to our single toes now. So placing the ball of the foot on, floating the leg up to tabletop, and take a moment to print legs into pelvis. Exhale, we push out to straight. Inhale, we resist back in again. The heel itself stays still as we're mobilizing, or the movement happens through the hip, knee, and ankle. Feel the difference of the proprioceptive feedback that you get from the toes being on the bar and how that works into the foot arch and up into the hip. Last practice. And resisting in. Switch those legs. The ball of the foot comes on. We float into a single leg lift. We connect, print, and we push away on the exhale, and we resist back on the inhale. So that heel is staying still. We're keeping an active movement as we press all the way out and resist all the way back in again. We're checking that we're maintaining our pelvic stability in this unilateral environment. Last one. And resist back in. Excellent work. From here, we're going to come up to sitting. We're going to get ready for our supine arms number 3. So I'm going to drop my spring tension down to 1 red and 1 blue. I'm going to ready the arm straps and make my way back down to the supine position. So ready your hand straps and just taking a moment to set up your print, grabbing the fist around the hand strap, feeling that connection from the grip down into the strong straight arm and spiraling the head of the humerus into the shoulder socket. Are your shoulder blades still nice and broad across the back of your rib cage as we float both legs up into our tabletop position? Can we connect the feet together and have the knees slightly apart? Can you already feel the load challenge from the springs that I've chosen? So from here, are we able to maintain our connections as we push down on the exhale, turn the palms to face in, we inhale and open wide to the side. Connect the arm into the shoulder to push back down, and especially important under this heavier load. Are we able to maintain the shoulder stability as we push under this heavier load? Press down and control up. As you exhale, the sternum softens, the arms reach down. We spiral and turn the arms as they abduct. We connect and press from the shoulder as we adduct the arms towards the body and lift back up on top of the shoulder. We've got 1 more practice. Press down. Breathe in to open. Breathe out to press. Breathe in to come back up. Good work. From here, can we bend both elbows in beside the waist? Can we start at a right angle or 90 degrees of elbow flexion, getting ready for our triceps? So in this position, can we still feel the spiraling connection of the head of the humerus into the shoulder socket? Can we feel that the shoulders are pulling away from the shoulder rests, or the elbows are pressing down towards the hips? We're going to use an exhale breath to extend the elbow out to straight. Breathing in, we're going to bend back in again. So the humeral bone is staying as still as possible. The movement is happening at the elbow joint. We're exhaling as we press into the load. We're inhaling as we control back. So we're mobilizing or moving from the elbow joint, but we're maintaining that stability around the shoulder torso. Exhale. Inhale to bend up. We've got 2 more. And pull back in, maintaining that wrist alignment. Bend it in. We're going to reach the arms back up to the ceiling, and we're lowering the legs back down to the foot bar. Good work. From here, we're just coming up to sitting, just to allow the straps to come back down. And we're going to be doing a preparation for our hundreds. We're going to start with our percussive breath pattern, our breath cycle, before we come into a hundreds variation. So lying back down onto the mat, or onto the carriage rather, pulling the legs up into our tabletop position, but a little deeper into your hip flexion than normal. We're going to curl the head up into our chest lift position. And can we grab around the very front of the ankle, or as far down the lower leg as you can? Can we feel that we're pushing the legs up into the hands? So we're active in our hips. And see how that assists our chest curl to come into our percussive breath. Now we've got an inhale for 5 and an exhale for 5 in this position, where our abdominals are in maximum contraction. So we're breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. The inhale is stretching the intercostals, sending that breath to the back of the rib cage. Our exhale is maximally contracting the abdominal wall and pulling it in. Breath in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. That posterior lateral breath. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last breath cycle. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great work. We're lowering the head down just to rest for a moment. So can we extend both legs out onto the foot bar now? We're connected in our rotated position, external rotation, so the heels are squeezing together and our feet are in our small V. Can we curl up into our chest lift, getting ready for our hundreds, practicing that same breath cycle? Pumping the arms, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now with the arm pump, we're imagining that our hands are pressing forward into our reformer straps, and that we're getting that pump from that strong straight arm into the shoulder blade trunk. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last breath cycle. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold the arms still and lower the torso down. Well done. From here, we're going into our strap work category. So can we grab our foot straps, getting ready for our frogs? So from here, we're going to press the carriage out. We're stepping the feet into our straps, and we're coming into that 90 degrees of hip and knee flexion to start. Can we print, think external rotation? Can we get that spiral corkscrew down into the leg hip, readying those hamstrings and pushing from the hip joint? We're going frogs. Exhale to press the legs out. Inhale, actively pull the legs back into hip flexion. Exhale, press. Inhale, pull in. Can we feel the activity pressing down through the palm of the hand, connecting the arm into the shoulder? Can we focus on our breath and how the exhalation closes the ribs, softens the sternum, and activates the abdominals as the lever goes away from you? Exhale, press. And how active can you pull the legs into return? One more practice, pushing out. Let's keep those legs straight. We're lifting the legs up, preparing for our leg circles today. So how far up into hip flexion can we come, maintaining that neutral zone through the pelvis and spine? We're going to use an exhale breath to press both legs down together. We're using an inhale breath to circle the legs back around and up, maintaining pelvis and spine. Exhale to press. Inhale, circle up and around. Each time you join your heels at the top, check that we're getting that same initiation from the hamstring. Check that the tailbone hasn't lifted out of its neutral zone. Exhale, press. Inhale, drawing back up and around. Last one. We're going to reverse the circle. We're going to open the legs a little wider than the width of the carriage. We're pushing down into the load as we exhale. We're inhaling to connect the heels and return back up. We're going to open and press down. As we connect the heels, we're going to lift them up as far away from the sitting bones as we can. Can we keep checking in to the positioning of the lumbar spine right now? Are we able to maintain that zone as the legs are going around in the hip joint? Last one. And drawing the legs back up. We're going to come into our high openings today. So maintaining that position of hip flexion. The reformer carriage is going to stay still. We're going to open the legs out to the side, abduction. We're exhaling to maintain that stability through the carriage as we adduct the legs. Let's go for 3 more before we take our low openings. Breathing in, we open. Keeping the carriage still, we adduct the legs back to close. Are you able to maintain that external rotation spiral as you abduct and as you adduct the legs? Let's transition this into our low openings where we're going to open out to the side. This time we are closing back down to our 45 degrees or down to the foot bar. The carriage now moves as we open the legs out to the side and we exhale to draw the legs back together. Breathing in, abduct, in external rotation. Breathing out, draw to close. Can we do 1 more? We're opening out. We're adducting the legs, squeezing the heels. We're bending the knees back in again to come out of our feet in straps. Fantastic. Let's release those feet, return the carriage back to home. And we're going to quickly come up to sitting again. So into our spinal articulation category today, we are taking our pelvic curl with extension. We're going to start with a spring tension of 2 red and 1 blue. And we're going to lie ourselves back down. We've got the heels parallel in hip width, in line with our sitting bones. We're just going to take a moment to print down through the arm trunk because that is important for this exercise. As we exhale, we're going to start to imprint the lumbar spine, pick the pelvis and the spine up into our pelvic curl, opening up and extending the hip joint, keeping the reformer still. We're going to push the carriage out and in, maintaining the extension at the hip joint. We're softening the sternum and we're articulating the spine as we return back down. Can we repeat that again? We're going to exhale to imprint. Roll up, reach the knees forward, keeping the reformer carriage still. We press out and in. Can we maintain hip extension here and squeeze back into the stopper and roll the spine back down? Exhale, we imprint. Reach the knees forward over the toes. Now we're pushing out and we're taking our time to squeeze the sitting bones back to the heels to get into the stopper. And we're rolling the spine back down. Very good work. So can we take a look at our unilateral challenge for this exercise? We're going to float the right leg up into our tabletop position and we're going to repeat. So we're using our exhale breath to imprint and roll up into our pelvic curl. Can we maintain pelvic stability as we try and extend the hip? Can we push the carriage and pull it in, maintaining hip extension? Can we roll the spine back down? Can you notice the importance of the arms torso right now? Exhale, imprint and roll up. Press the carriage out and in, squeeze back to the stopper, and soften the chest and roll down. Do you also notice that there might be a slightly lesser range available to you in your movement? So as you push up, can we get the pelvis as high? Pushing out and in, can we maintain that pelvic stability? And can we roll the spine back down again? Well done. Can we switch on to the other side? Make sure you place that foot back down in line with your sitting bone before you pick the other leg up to tabletop. Using an exhale breath, we imprint and we pelvic curl. Pushing the carriage out, squeezing back into the stopper, soften the chest and roll back down. Maintaining pelvic stability on both sides of the pelvic halves as we roll up. You might need to feel that your open chain knee needs to reach up to the ceiling a little bit more to maintain that alignment. Squeezing back into the stopper as you roll back down. One more. We're going to imprint and roll up. Pressing that carriage out and in. And we're rolling all the way back down. Fantastic work. From here, let's come up to sitting. And we've got that sequence just one more time, but we're changing the spring load to feel the difference or to feel the impact. So can we take that red spring off? So I'm down to just one red and one blue. Coming back down again, we've got our heels on. We'll just work bilateral for this one. Heels on, parallel and hip width. Take a moment to print the arms. And can we gently start to imprint and roll up into our first pelvic curl? Can you feel the challenge increased in maintaining that reformer at the stopper as we curl the spine up? We're going to push the carriage away. We're going to squeeze back in again and notice the effort required to get that carriage back home, soften the chest and roll back down. We're going to exhale and roll back up again. So we need to think about that articulation, that opening through the hip joint, that mobility through the lumbar spine, and the strength in the hip extensors to keep that carriage still. We push away with somewhat ease, but then we've got to work to get it home. Sitting bones pull towards the heels, soften the chest and roll the spine down. I think we've got one more left. Let's go imprint. Roll up into our pelvic curl. Push the carriage out, squeeze back to the stopper, try to maintain the hip extension and roll back down and rest. Good work. All right, let's come up to sitting. So we're into our hip flexion category now. We're going to take a look at scooter. Can we drop that spring down to our one red? Coming up and standing on the side of the reformer, we're going to tuck the foot. So we've already set this up for our knee stretches, getting as much movement through that big toe joint as we can, bringing the heel up against the shoulder rest. Can we set this so the supporting side leg is a little further back than the working knee? And can we bring our hands onto the foot bar? We're printing from the hand through the strong straight arm into the shoulder, and we're printing our spine. So can we think of that lengthened C shape where the sitting bones are trying to pull down towards the heels as we're pushing from the arms to keep the weight of the pelvis back? Now we're using an inhale breath and we're pressing the leg from the hip and we're exhaling to pull back in again. So again, we're going to work on that slow push out and slightly faster pull back in. So pressing through those hip extensors and controlling back into that hip flexion. Breathing in to push, breathing out to pull in. Maintaining the position, especially through that pelvis and lumbar spine. Last one. Well done. So can we add the blue spring on? We're coming back into the same start position. We've got a slightly stronger load. So we're really setting our print position before we push back and pull in. Excellent. Immediately, you can feel that additional challenge required on that hip extensor strength to press back under load. Can we maintain our form? Can we maintain our strong straight arm and the position through the pelvis and lumbar spine? Good. Last one. Excellent work. Let's repeat that on the other side. So please remember to take that blue spring off, walking around. Setting up our print. So big toe joint mobilized, heel up against the shoulder rest, setting the legs up, setting the arms, torso, and spine up. From here, we're going to use our inhale breath to press back. Exhale, pull in. So we're pushing, using those hip extensors, and we're pulling in, controlling that hip flexion. So stabilizing through the arms, torso, spine, mobilizing and getting that hip disassociation through the leg hip. Good. Last practice, slow back and quick in. Okay, coming up to our load challenge. So adding that blue spring, and are we able to maintain that load or that alignment under that load? Good. You might notice that your range of movement diminishes a little. It's much harder to kick that leg and stretch that spring back into full hip extension. Let's go 2 more. And last one. Well done. And rest. Okay, we're going to come up to standing for hip flexion to elephant. So can we bring ourselves up? Strong straight legs. We need to make sure that the pelvis is situated right back over those heels, and we're able to reach forward and get a connection from the hand foot bar into the shoulder trunk. Can we feel that tripod through the foot? Can we feel a very active medial arch of the foot connecting up through to the inner thighs and up into that imprinted position through the pelvis spine? We're going to use an inhale breath to push and extend the hip, and an exhale to pull back under, feeling how the exhalation pulls us into our imprint, and the imprint pulls us into our hip flexion. Inhale back, exhale in. Last 2. Last 1. Well done. Can we take the blue spring off? So I'm just down to the 1 red spring, pulling myself back up into my elephant start position, and I'm feeling how the red spring or the lighter load impacts our ability to pull back into hip flexion. It's much harder to pull back into that stopper now. Exhale to imprint. So can we feel how the leg pulls back up through the hip and into that lumbar imprint to pull the carriage in? Last 2. Last 1. Excellent work. Let's carefully come down, kneeling on, and we're going to come into our lunge, bringing ourselves back to the side, connecting the foot up against your shoulder rest, bringing the standing leg forward in line with your foot bar. Printing that vertical position. So how upright can we be through the pelvis and the spine? Keeping the front knee still, pushing the back leg back into our hip extension. Maintaining hip extension of the back leg, straightening the front leg. Bending that front leg back in again, pulling the pelvis or pulling the ASIS towards the foot bar and feeling like your pubic bone pulls up towards your sternum, crown of the head up to the ceiling. We've got 1 more. Front knee stays still, back leg pushes away. Straightening into our hamstring stretch, lengthening the front knee out. Keep pushing the back leg and carriage away. Slide back in again, the knee bends, the hip comes up. We think about that vertical print up through pelvis and spine. Okay, good. Let's go on to the other side. Big toe joint, heel up against, knee on the carriage, front foot comes forward. Take a moment to print and release. You may already feel that stretch in the hip flexor. Front knee stays still, push the back thigh away. Straighten the front leg out into your hamstring stretch. Keep the back leg moving. Pull back in again, bending that front knee. Pull up through the pelvis, up through the spine. Pressing away. Extending the front leg out. Pulling the carriage back in again, hips up, crown of the head to the ceiling. Okay, good. From here, we're going to come into our arm work category. We're going to take a look at shoulder press today. So we're going to start with one red and one blue spring on. And we're going to take our start position with the knees as close to the front edge as we can and sitting back through the hip, knee, and ankle as much as we can into this position. The palm of the hand is going to come onto the foot bar. We're at our shoulder width or a little wider with our fingers pointing in towards one another. We're going to lower our torso down, but not all the way because the foot bar is there. Can we feel the connection from the hand into the arm shoulder? And then can we press the carriage away, lowering the torso down a little further? So the crown of the head comes in line with the bar. Can we feel in this shoulder press position that the sternum is pulling up away from your thighs to keep your abdominal wall active right now? We're going to use an inhale breath to bend both elbows. We're going to use an exhale breath to connect the rib sternum and extend the arms out. We're going to use an inhale to control the bend. We're going to use an exhale to press. Good. From here, we're making sure that the head of the shoulder stays dropped right down away from the ear. So we're maintaining the distance between the ear and the top of the shoulder as the elbows flex and extend. We've got 2 more practices, breathing in to bend, breathing out to press down. If that shoulder range isn't quite available to you, can you change the angle of the torso to lift up a little higher? So we're going to practice just a couple more with a slightly higher or more elevated torso. We're still focusing on that breath and that connection into the front ribs and sternum as we're bending and extending. Can we do one more? And we're going to control back in to rest. Fantastic. From here, I'm going to take the red spring off. So I've just left with one blue spring on. We're going to come into the progression of single arm shoulder press. So we're lowering back down to our start position. I'm going to take my left arm off and reach it out to the side. So as I've taken that left arm off, I'm feeling like I'm reaching out to the left side. So I don't compensate and load to the supporting side shoulder. From here, I'm going to use an exhale breath to extend my right arm out and then inhale to send the elbow out to the side of the room. Exhale to press out and inhale to bend the elbow to control back. So we're trying to maintain that symmetry of the rib cage, spine, pelvis as we've loaded unilaterally through the arm, shoulder, torso. Good. Can we switch? That left arm comes back on, the right arm reaches out to the side. Can we feel the right arm reaching out away from the body as the left arm presses out to straight? Exhale. The elbow, left elbow bends, reaching out away from the shoulder joint. Press on your exhale, return on your inhale. We've got 2 more practices. Pulling in and exhale and pressing in to rest. Well done. Okay, from here, we're going to take a look at our side reach mermaid in our lateral flexion category. So coming into our Z sit, and can we pop that red spring on? So I'm back on the red, I'm going to take the blue spring off. So from here, the palm of the hand connects onto the foot bar. Remember, we're just forward of the shoulder. We're feeling that from the palm of the hand, we've still got that slight external rotation spiral of the humeral bone into the shoulder joint. We're going to breathe in to tilt and lean to the side. Side reach first. We're going to go then lateral flexion of the spine, head, neck, ribs. Try to keep the reformer carriage still. We're going to return back to our tilt, long through both sides of the waist and return the carriage home. Let's practice that one more time. Breathing in, energy and opposition through both arms. Arm comes up, lateral flexion through your spinal joints. Good. Can we come back to our tilt? Can we come into home? And into our mermaid. So can we press out to tilt? Can we feel that it's the rib cage rotating around the spine to bring us into that thoracic rotation? Can we move from here back into our side reach? And all the way back home. Good work. From here, we're coming out into our side tilt. We're thinking rotation of the rib cage, pull around. So that sweeping arm towards the foot bar is encouraging that rib cage rotation. We're coming back into our side bend and coming all the way back home. Good, one more practice. Pressing out into our tilt. Rotate ribs. Good. Back in pivoting around the shoulder joint into our side lateral flexion and coming all the way home and return. Fantastic. Let's go same on the other side. Can we practice our side reach first? Palm of the hand comes on slightly forward of the shoulder, print from the palm of the hand into the shoulder. Breathing in, tilt, opposition between both arms. Lateral flexion of the spine, initiating from the head, neck, ribs. Controlling out of that lateral flexion back to our tilt, return the carriage home. Breathing in. Breathing out, head initiates movement. Return back and into home. Phase 2 into our mermaid. Can we tilt? Can we initiate the rib cage rotation, pulling the arm around to the foot bar? Feel the rotation of the rib cage. Coming back into our side reach, lateral flexion, bringing that all the way back home. Good, we're going to tilt. Exhale, rotate. Keep reaching, keep spiraling, keep encouraging that thoracic rotation. Over into our lateral flexion, coming all the way home. We've got one more. Reaching out, in. Feel how the arm sweeping around assists the shoulder and rib rotation. Bringing it back into our side reach, pulling that all the way home, and rest. Fantastic. We're going to go and grab our long box, getting ready for our pulling straps. Positioning your long box on correctly, bringing your foot bar all the way down. We've got just that one red spring on, and we're going to take ourselves into our prone position, lying on. We're going to take a look at pulling straps 1, 2 in a neutral position today. So can you check that the chest is just off the front edge? We've got our legs in a parallel hip width position today. Grabbing hold of our hand straps right up beyond the rope, and just take a moment in your prone position to feel neutral zones and alignment. So to allow the cervical spine to come into neutral, we're going to have to think about the face being down, facing down towards the floor. So in this position, can we then feel, well, where is the rib cage? Can I feel where the weight is distributed through the lower ribs? Can I feel the lightness in the abdominals, the heaviness in the pubic bone and the thighs? Can we feel the new print or proprioception of the hands into the straps, into the arm shoulders? So from here, we're just looking at that flexion and extension from the shoulder joint. We're going to use an inhale breath to pull both arms back up to in line with the thighs. We're using the exhale breath to return an active carriage back. From here, connecting the arm into the shoulder and pulling the humeral bone back to the rib cage, and then controlling the carriage back. Can we feel that oppositional length from the crown of the head to the big toe, reaching an opposition? Can we feel the control of that eccentric return of the arms? Pull, inhale, exhale, reconnect through the abdominals as you return. One more, pull on your inhale, return back on your exhale. Good. From here, we're going to bring this into pulling straps too. Can we reach our arms up beside our shoulders as high as we can? Maintaining the position of the palm of the hand down towards the floor, our little finger side of the hand is going to lead the arm pull back to the hips. Inhale. Exhale, we're reaching the arms back out to the side and as high up at the height of our shoulder as we can. Pulling back, breathing in. Exhale, reaching those arms out to the side so you can feel that demand on one red spring. Breathing in, we pull. Breathing out, we resist the return. We've got one more practice. Can we maintain that length from head to toe? Good. Let's rest those arms down and relax. Popping the straps back onto the hooks and stepping carefully off to the side. Good. From here, we're going to take a look at our down stretch today for our body integration exercise. So I'm going to go foot bar back up again. I'm going to place the blue spring on. I've got one red and one blue. From here, I'm tucking the toes in front of the shoulder rest. Now we've already worked this position in our knee stretches. But now we're working in an active hip extension position. So from here, we're going to press the pelvis forward. Now we're in hip extension. How can we make this active? We're going to feel that the pressure down through the big toe and that connection back into the heel is active. We're feeling like the pubic bone is pressing forward towards the foot bar, but the pubic bone is lifting up towards the sternum. Now we are in an extension position here. So from the palm of the hand, can we open the collarbones and send that sternum and eye line up towards the ceiling? We have to maintain the shape as we breathe in and push through the shoulder joint and pull back through the shoulder joint. So we've just patterned this a little bit in our pulling straps. This time we're pushing back and pulling up. Good, we're pressing back through an active hip extension, maintaining active in our spinal extension as we pull forward. So movement happening from the shoulder joint, staying stable through our hip extension, spinal extension against load. Pull the pubic bone towards the bar, pull the sternum to the ceiling. We've got two more. And last one. Excellent. And it might feel nice to sit back into a rest position here, bringing the hips back towards the heels, keeping the arms on the foot bar. Okay, good work. From here, we're going to come to standing for our roll down, for our cool down release. So bringing the feet into parallel and hip width, and taking a moment just to feel this vertical upright posture. How does that workout feel in your body? How has that changed the way you stand from the beginning of the class to the end of the class? Can we take an inhale breath? On the exhale breath, nod the chin, soften the sternum, roll the spine forward. Keep your eyes pulling in towards your navel and get as much flexion through the lumbar spine as you can before you start flexing at the hip joint. For today, can we keep the fingers just hovering above the floor line there? And can we focus on that imprint? So our sitting bones are still pulling back down towards the heels as the weight of the head and the arms are pulling the spine forward towards the ground. Using your exhale breath, we're stepping into those feet. We're bringing the pelvis back to neutral on the femurs. We're returning through the lumbar spine, rib cage, shoulder girdle, neck and head. Breathe in, find length in your vertical posture. Using your exhale breath, nod the chin, soften the sternum, mobilize your spinal joints. The hip joint starts to flex. We stay active through the spine as we come down. Breath in and exhale. Press into your feet, arches lift. Sitting bones draw down towards your heels. Restack your spine and print your vertical upright posture. Okay, good. That is it for today. Thank you for joining me.